Do silence your beepers. And in TV land, except for you, Commissioner Carberry, and TV land, please make sure that your phones are muted. I'm sorry, your screens are muted until you're called upon. So we will start with roll call. Rick, we're going to start with you since you're in TV land today. Start with you.
Richard Cartwright, Commissioner. Good morning.
Morning, I'm Ann Taylor.
Kristen Linder, Commissioner.
Marion Guanti, Commissioner.
Angelo DeFazio, Commissioner,
Gina
And-
Campbell, Board Administrator.
and Commissioner Chisholm is absent today. Let's get started with new pharmacy applications. Westport Pharmacy LLC. Westport Pharmacy, come on up. And Kristen, if you'd like to. Okay, who's the pharmacy manager? Derek? Okay, yes, Derek, if you raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Is there any physician ownership in the pharmacy? Will there be any sterile or non-sterile compounding at the pharmacy? And you attest today that you'll follow all zoning rules and regulations. Okay, very good. And you are?
Owner?
Okay, owner, okay. Just make sure he answers all the questions.
Sure.
Okay.
It's a plaza. It's a former bank. Doors, front door, back door.
That's it.
We're putting to the farm department. 77.
What is actually the actual pharmacy department? Is it this area back here too?
No, that is us.
Okay, so it's, okay, so it's just this area,
Yeah,
right?
the only entrance you got.
Okay, gotcha.
Right.
And this is off by the pharmacy?
Yes, that's a wall.
Stop.
Yes. Yes, it goes up to the west. Well, there's.
And there's nothing to the left here. It's right, I see the drive up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here? I saw yesterday.
And the whole area will be licensed for pharmacy, correct?
The next 10 minutes.
Like you still have to apply for an phone registration. You don't have to pay for something. This is the. That's the bonus, right? Okay. Your. Everything.
Your refrigerators, right? You can't put food in there, just so you know. If you would want to have one for the employees, just throw it in the office or the break room. It looks good. Right. It's easy.
Thank you.
Good. And you've been a manager before. Yes. Very good. Excellent. Thank you. See how easy that was? Wow.
Great, thank
You
you.
didn't even have to come.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You do this.
Okay, let's move on to pharmacy remodel, CVS number 718.
Oh, that's probably best. Yeah.
Robert, how are you? Good. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Since it's a remodel, I just need to ask you, will there be any sterile or non-sterile compounding at the pharmacy? And will there be any point of sale or a computer that's going to sit outside of the licensed pharmacy area? Very good. Pharmacy.
Why don't you sit there and we can vote?
want to focus on what the.
Yeah, for sure. So essentially what's happening is the pharmacy expand.
Oh, so this is just the pharmacy department?
Yeah, just pharmacy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is
so huge. So we have a lot,
Yes.
we have a lot of empty spaces, 24-hour storage. So, yeah.
Okay.
So essentially all we're gonna do is pretty much
through this process, like,
extending,
the security
here.
process, the agents.
Waste counter, we're just
Agents to go in just to use
yes. So we're adding more, we're not adding any registers. We currently have one.
It's exactly what I'm ready for. There's something.
And then. Quality conservation.
But I automatically stop.
To come back, yeah, screw.
So we're trying to get.
That's why we go through. Rhyming reasons why they have to come in. Because there's many plans for these, they want to, sorts of changes to.
So no walls are really coming.
No, no,
Just kind of
we're just pushing it forward, yeah.
Okay.
Where's the door?
We also do it with movies. So it's happening.
So
So,
main door is here, to get into the pharmacy, and there's a back door. So structurally here, we're adding shelves. Specs. And then we're setting it works.
when you say you're putting it out.
Out of state. Don't get inspections.
So they're moving out, so they're gonna create. We have a lot of empty space right here in the front. And we're just kind of capitalizing on that.
Okay.
Okay.
So people can store and the ones they function.
So I was happy.
I just said.
So we do a consultation right here. That help do that per day. It's weekly. Wait, there's a door right here, station area. So. This is lost.
That's also.
Yeah, that's as well. Yeah, they can go out with the services, though. Like, consultation, like, we know where customers can come in, it's a consultation room. And then this is drop off area, right? So we have two drop off stations, so. Pick up is all. Yeah, everyone moving saves, right? So essentially, every for our construction team. Was essentially outside of this, that's just front store.
Then the SP is the robot movie.
No,
The problem,
none of that's supposed to be the safes are not moved.
by the way, kudos to doing it this way. Makes,
That's our,
this is, I don't know who's responsible.
yeah, it's our corporate team.
But you let them know that this is great.
So, yeah, we had that as well, so. you can see right now. Actually, right, that. Like. All that to the team. Yes. Yeah,
Big one, cookie cutter.
yeah, pretty much, it was, I think, yeah, I think it was an extra bridge we had, but.
Yes.
Yes, gosh, gosh. Walgreens Pharmacy, 09521. It's a lot of numbers. Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Don't be any stuff. Sterile account. So, and will there be any point of sale, computer system that's gonna sit outside of the license process? That's something legal. Drone footage and everything. It's drone footage.
All right, so. This is the current. That's there.
Like, so I'm gonna that person. Even if a weekend.
Oh.
So this was like. No. No, okay, so down if you're.
Unnecessary. It's like.
Or extending the counter.
Felt great about.
Help see.
Yeah, I told him, you should study that in school. If you want to.
I made it a little bit bigger. It's big.
Yeah.
I know. It's on the edge. That's something
It's like.
Graduated from prep school.
Actually. So, I'm sure that's the right way, actually.
Behind us. Kind of break down.
Thank you. You can give that to, you can give that to.
As you should. You're up. I wanted to.
Very good. All right. In terms of new pharmacy applications, Westport Pharmacy LLC, DBA Westport Pharmacy in Westport, Connecticut. And do I have a motion to accept? Do I hear a second? All in favor, say aye.
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 Against? So moved. Pharmacy remodel, CVS Pharmacy number 718. What is your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? So moved. Walgreens Pharmacy number 09521 Bridgeport, Connecticut. What is your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Very good. Oh, to the legal portion of our television show. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning.
How are you?
Well, how are you?
Good, thank you. Looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cases before us. We will start, Attorney Ando, with case number, the year 2022, case number 1896. And do you want to take them together or separately?
1896 and 1472 are combined in the resolution, so I can run through the cases separately, but the resolution ultimately.
Very good. So we'll go through both of them chronologically. We'll start with 1896 and then move on to 1472. What can you tell us about that? I believe I was the step down in that,
Yes, you were.
so I will recuse myself. Go ahead.
So 2022 1896 was a case that stemmed from a suspicious order report concerning a doctor and his order to his practice. The doctor was prescribing Schedule II drugs to immediate family members, children, spouse, and sibling. The medical records that this doctor had supported diagnoses related to the prescribing was inappropriate under state law to a family member. It was alleged in this case that the pharmacist had reason to know about the familial relationship based on a longstanding pharmacist-patient relationship and some degree of knowledge of the individual's life. Prescriptions and things like. So this is a combined case. It was combined because they were almost concurrent, completely by chance. The second case here, 2022-1472, with a routine inspection that spun into a case. And very quickly, these were overlapping. I think it was a matter of 4 weeks between the first case coming in and the second case beginning as a result of the inspection. The combination is really primarily about expediency. The same things were all happening, so they're just combined for resolution purposes. Second case was entirely separate, although both were discussed in the compliance meeting. So in this case, there was a routine pharmacy inspection, 2022-72. Immediately, it was apparent that there were a large number of violations here. Spotted pharmacy licensing not conspicuously posted, manager name not posted, not conspicuously. Tech training logs were absent. Techs were consulting the patient about immunization recommendations. Consultation, obviously, that's pharmacist work. The refrigerator didn't have a temp log, a temperature log, that was ongoing, although it did have a thermometer inside. For adulterated meds, not an outrageous number. There were a half dozen adulterated non-prescription meds. And there were 2 adulterated, misbranded products, primarily expiration date issues. So along with these kinds of problems, unsurprisingly, there are some disorganized record keeping issues. There were unfiled hard copy scripts sort of files. Deficiencies in some of these in terms of missing information. Schedule 2 inventory was not reconciled. Required. And naloxone dispensing was not, because it's a 2022 case. It took a while to resolve this, and there were reasons for that, which we can get into a little. But at the time, this was a new law, the naloxone reporting, a fairly common issue that we were seeing with reaching up to. It's not necessarily a shocking, compared to we're having reporting problems today. The compliance meeting held in this case, Chairperson DeVazio stepped down. Based on representations that were made there, the department's understanding was that majority, if not all of these issues had been corrected. It was decided, however, that an agent would go spot check, only really focusing on the issues that have been identified in the initial inspection. That unannounced follow-up compliance check not go a lot of current problems. Techs not wearing tags, discussing information with patients that was probably crossing into pharmacy practice. Tech training binder, disorganized training was out of date. Some of those things were provided later, tech certificates, some training information, but they weren't readily available. They weren't in the format that they were supposed to be. They're just been relatively recent, the last few months, a check-in that had identified that as a problem. There was a pretty substantial representations made about how this was corrected. So going in and seeing things like the unfiled scripts were still in disarray. Schedule 2 inventory was still not properly documented. The temp log in the refrigerator was still not being completed. Naloxone still not being uploaded. These kinds of considerable majority of violations continuing, which were really identified, education had been given, discussion was had. It was handled pretty seriously. Based on back and forth between the department and the respondent, there were a substantial number of changes made. These changes were actually documented. I can see reflected in our proposed settlement that we give very serious consideration to the amount of time, effort, and in some cases expense that went into fixing these things. Proposed resolution here is a voluntary monetary payment of $10,000. Initially, this was treated substantially differently. This settlement, while it's not small on its own, is a reflection of substantial changes that were made interim period. That's one of the reasons why time here is so striking. So that's what we're proposing here for drug control. It's a settlement. Respondent has already paid $10,000 to. As far as Department can tell, there are no longer current issues. As you know, there's a routine inspection schedule. I should be aware from past experience that we'll see drug control agents again relatively soon, especially given the amount of time.
Any questions for Attorney Endo?
So all of this was just against the pharmacy license or the pharmacist manager,
This is the pharmacist manager.
pharmacist himself?
Yes. So there's another case which will follow this one
Okay.
that was presented against the pharmacy.
Okay.
This was against the manager. There are a
I
number of reasons why that act was chosen. Happy to discuss at least.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, the leadership oversight seems to be lacking, so that's why.
Right. Yes, this individual is sole manager. It's not a large pharmacy, not a large staff where you could say we're losing responsibility and so should have done it, but they didn't. The oversight was apparent where those they should have been.
Any other questions for Attorney Endo? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept case number 2022-1896 as presented? Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Moving on to case 2022, staying in the same year, 1472.
This is the respondent in this case is the pharmacy investigated, same pharmacy as in the previous report. And the case. So same step down here, of course, Angela DeFazio stepped down to this as well. This is directed toward the pharmacy itself rather than the manager. Overall, they're ending up in sort of roughly the same place. There were two cases last settlement. Council for Drug Control is proposing a settlement, voluntary monetary payment of $8,000. And also, the respondent has agreed to make findings and maintain measures and voluntary improvements made during the investigation. Some of those obviously, because of the time period where there was a reinspection following, some of those were not made initially, but many of them were made voluntarily between the point of which initial offer was made and work was done. There was a third party was also involved assisting the pharmacy to reach compliance. So we can run through the charges again. I'd be happy to do that, but they are same issues. They are primarily issues that could be attributed to either a manager or a pharmacy or both. Some of them are things that appropriate record keeping and inventory, required signage, really appropriate drug stock, branded appropriately and not mislabeled or lacking like expiration dates. One of the things that's pharmacy direct and not is a vaccine protocol on record. Things that was not discussed as part of the pharmacist managers, primarily was actual physical layout of this pharmacy. So although there should be oversight involved in this pharmacy case, there were things like a accessible consultation room that contained sharps that have been disposed of appropriately. So there were changes made to the procedure for that, the process. For the vaccine immediately, something with that sharp that's out in a process and a procedure. So things like that. And then also all the assurance methods for things like dispensing errors, systems in place, but they were not. Them is inadequate because they were lacking certain information that would allow. For instance, in the case of a drug recall, they would allow you to quickly track which lot number had been administered, as opposed to going through an audit process, which may or may not have been successful. Right? And then there was also this technician who was offering counseling. To some extent, that's attributed to both. Obviously, we addressed some features that would prevent this kind of thing. Pharmacy technician cases are handled on their own. They're a separate licensee, so you want to see that was incorporated into this.
Questions for Attorney Endo? I'm hearing none. Attorney Endo, before we move on, I think there's a numbering issue. I just want to be positively sure. Is it 1472 or 1471? Because I
Believe.
think it's 147.
171.
okay, great. So on the initial, we said we would combine it with 1462. That's incorrect. The 1471, correct? First,
Settlement that.
there was two on the first settlement?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So I just want to be clear.
186.
Okay, I just want to be clear. So there were two cases on one that we just voted on previously. And now this is a separate one that we're, so we're voting on 1471. Correct. Okay, good. So in case 2022-1471, what is your pleasure? Do I hear a second? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, abstentions, so moved. Very good. Moving on to, oh, we're getting close. 2024-1985. What can you tell us about that, Attorney Endo?
This was a Connecticut pharmacy investigated, again, following a routine inspection.
And it was a step down.
There was a step down in this case, and that step down was committee member Chisholm.
Continue.
Here today. So following a routine inspection, it's alleged that this pharmacy failed to immediately notify the commission of a change in pharmacy manager. Ceased management, immediately enroll in address, license number, and required information for the new pharmacy manager, have a pharmacy manager. And they failed to reconcile their perpetual inventory on an ongoing basis. They did not have certain records available upon request. Similar issues with tags missing, training logs missing or incomplete. And they also had adulterated drugs being offered for sale to the public. So per se adulterated because some of them were outdated, some of them were still super broken, still offered for sale over the counter. The proposed resolution here is a voluntary monetary payment of $10,000. Also a letter of reprimand. There were some substantial issues in this case. There was a long list of violations. Outdated tech training, and we know these are fairly common. Some of the tech training after the fact was provided to agents to not was likely outdated tech training in general. Dispensing log for controls was incomplete. Signature on the dispensing log, control twos, written out, they were not signed by a pharmacist. And then I touched on the over-the-counter drugs. These were vitamins with broken seal and other counter non-prescription drugs. Receipts in this case did necessarily a relatively uncommon problem. Receipts did not advise patients to contact the Department of Consumer Protection if there was a dispensing error. That was solved. Some obligation. It took them some effort to figure this out, and they fix it with their vendors, or their parent. Federal inventory. This is a monthly reconciling that was missing. And they not have a number of records available for inspection. So at inspection and shortly after, they did not have anything from A222's power of attorney documents available. Eventually, all of those things were provided. Certain things, the power of attorney was a situation. We're going to get into that in a second. Power of attorney was updated, essentially never valid. Certain critical information definitionally for it to be a valid power. So although it was provided, it was never valid until the point where the agents gave them some additional instruction and they made it one. So Power of attorney is relevant here because there were also a number of DEA 222 forms of issue. As we know, those don't occur in all cases. Not everyone is ordering their drugs with the DEA 222. In this case, there were approximately 19 forms that were completely missing. And there were some related absent invoices. And then there were problems with the individual DEA 222 form. Obviously, looking at this is a moment where the DEA itself steps in and becomes involved. So talk around that, but I'm not at freedom to discuss federal activity in this case. So the DEA and the drug control agents did scour these 222 forms that existed, looking for problems. What the drug control agent noticed actually was some irregular signatures. The pharmacy manager's name was signature for every one of these 222s, but not every one of the manager's signatures is visibly the same as some others. There were two types, let's say, signatures in this individual's name. The technician at this pharmacy admitted that they had been using the pharmacist's name and signing his signature on these forms for ordering drugs. Apparently did not understand the extent of this action, but had been repeatedly, it was over 24. So there were a number of immediate voluntary corrections taken by ownership as this investigation began. Updated records for tax certificates were posted and updated in the records. Name tags were corrected immediately. Dispensing log was maintained, corrected to that date, obviously. Outdated meds removed. Seats were corrected with some effort contacting their vendors. The technician in question here was suspended immediately. Tell you that this technician is no longer licensed with the state of Connecticut and they're dislocated. The federal inventory was not immediately corrected this time, was corrected during the course of resolution of this case. So every indication is that it is correct now moving forward. Addressing this kind of in two ways. You'll see that similarly, the next case deals with the manager in that case. See how we're addressing it with the manager, but in this case, we're addressing deficiencies and based on their seriousness, we're including a letter of reprimand, disciplinary, and a $10,000 payment. I invested time and money, effort into correcting a lot of these problems. Every indication is that they also invested in training. Those that you want to put recognize some of these behaviors are correct them.
Any questions for Attorney Endo?
Is the pharmacist aware that it's her signature? So that person. I mean, the technician lost. From the pharmacist.
That pharmacist was acting as the pharmacy manager, and they're the subject of the very next case on the agenda today. It was addressed in, I would say, two ways. One is through pharmacy policy changes and measures that they implemented in this case. And we addressed it very specifically, pharmacy manager's case as well.
Any other questions for Attorney Endo? Just to be clear, there still is a federal case that's open and ongoing. Is that correct?
I cannot discuss any details of federal activity.
Very good. Anything else for Attorney Endo? Hearing none, I'll accept the motion to approve case 2024-1985 as presented by Attorney Endo. Do I have a motion? I will second it. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. Obviously Debbie's not here, but she would herself. Very good. Moving on to case 20-24-1146, which follows up Commissioner Taylor's question. Attorney Endo.
This is the pharmacy manager in the case. There were some of these things that would be, generally speaking, kind of attributed to a pharmacy and a pharmacist in some instances. It's think apparent from the synopsis that we heard here and not every single detail of the case, it's apparent that there were some significant managerial oversights. There are, the reason that it was sort of fully appropriated to both the pharmacy and the pharmacist is that some of these things should have been caught by oversight to a manager as well. Really should be attributed to a pharmacy. But some of these ongoing problems are entirely in the realm of a manager. Even if they're not specifically ascribed to the manager shouldn't allow them to be in the conditions of the pharmacy as it's running. So some of these problems, like the ongoing record, especially for controls, the record reconciliation, really directly a manager's job, taking responsibility for it when they sign up for that job. Some of these record keeping, oversight of technicians, some of these things clearly a manager's job. Adulterated drugs should be caught by anyone who's working, but ultimately it falls on the manager. And then some of these things, there is a unique charge in this that was not in pharmacy charge, which is false or misleading statements to the Division of Pharmacy, Department of Consumer Protection. So we added this charge in this case because it's appropriate that someone who is party to false and fraudulent information being given to the state should deal with that as an individual. That's how we approach this. There was a technician who was providing representations that they were a pharmacist. Obviously, that's legal. So a separate instance. But there's also a manager who appeared to have been aware, not provide information about who actually signed these, where they're discussing this issue with drug control agents and federal DEA agents. This person was not being upfront. Now, the extent, we're not adjudicating this, so the extent to what level of willfulness or something, I'm not gonna point on, but there's certainly a reason to know that this is happening if you are their manager. Certainly expect that you will be responsible for it, whether you are actually aware or not, because you are responsible for the forms. It was sort of at best substantial neglect, to not be aware of what's on the order forms. Worst, it's some kind of a worse thing. I think opine about how we would charge that, So in this case, this person appeared to actually have been aware, certainly should have been aware, even if they were not had not actually seen it. That they were doing this. There was some general confusion about responsibilities of a manager to especially informed. There was general confusion about the concepts surrounding power of attorney, what's located in the power of attorney in this context, who's allowed to hold it, who's allowed to order drugs, in what circumstances, these kinds of things. And we try to address this to a greater or lesser extent beyond just education and advisements when we're crafting settlement for this manager. We're proposing a monetary payment of $5,000. This individual has paid that. But also including a letter of reprimand to the substantial, in some cases, obviousness of some of these violations. There should never be in a position to miss as a manager, some of these. And we're also including continuing education on pharmacy management. State is fortunate we have a pharmacy management specific continuing education course that's quite substantial. It also has, it's not substantial as the monetary payment is, but it does contain its own monetary element because you're out of work for an entire day taking and you're paying for the course. So with that, the individual is 180 days to complete that course in this agreement. There were, because of the number of changes that were made and because the relatively quick involvement to correct some of these things and some training, did not include something that would have prevented practice for this individual. Some of these cases are heavily training related. Some of these cases are something else that's a here. This is an individual who appears be someone who would benefit from some substantial training specific to management. They're not primarily pharmacist problems. Many of them are primarily manager problems. But we're hoping that they will be addressed this way for manager responsibility training purposes.
Questions for Attorney Henry? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to accept case 2024-1146 as presented. Do I hear a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved.
What's your first standards?
Meet somebody. What is first class of the estate? There's a.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Attorney Endo. Okay, moving on. Request for pharmacy internships. We have quite a few of them today. We haven't had some in the past. Let's see here. Is Holly Banton here? Come on up. So my linguistics aren't very good. So if I mispronounce your name, just over there, just let me know. I won't be offended. Could you raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So if you can.
Yes.
Have a seat. So we like to, for foreign students that have graduated in other programs and practiced in other countries that are coming here and just like to know where you practice, what kind of practice you had, what country you're coming from, and who your preceptor is going to be here, what type of pharmacy you're going to be working here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're going? And for all the yous that are next, the next four, you get a precursor, so of what's going to happen, so you can practice. Go ahead.
So I studied in the island of Jamaica, or University of Technology, which was the only university that offered that program.
Kingstone or in Kingston? Yeah.
Yes. So after completing that, we had to do an internship at our hospital. Licensure. So upon licensure, I practiced in Jamaica for a little while. I eventually got an opportunity also in the Cayman Islands. I practiced there for a year, had to be course, and then here I am.
Fantastic. So when's the last time you practiced?
I haven't practiced since about 2018, I believe.
Yeah. And you live in Connecticut now? And where are you going to be working and who is your preceptor?
I don't know it offhand, so it's Jennifer Glassov. She's at CVS in Fairfield, Connecticut.
So it's going to be retail. Did you do retail in Jamaica?
I did. Land hospital.
Very different than ours.
Absolutely. This is first world.
Okay.
Yes. Cayman Islands gives more of a first world vibe, though it's a small country.
Because there's no taxes. So, all right, any questions? So just make sure you keep track of your own hours, make sure you keep track of all of them and turn them into the department. And we wish you luck.
Thank you so much.
All right, next up. Aha Elgendi? Is it good? Not Joe, right? Elgendi, did I say that right?
Yes.
You raise your right hand, swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Why don't you have a seat? So you had the luxury of seeing how this goes, so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you studied, where you went to school, and what type of pharmacy you practiced?
And I graduated. After graduation, practice pharmacy. Learning pharmaceutical.
We've had quite a few from up here before us before. So I won't ask you about your system because we all heard it in the past. So when's the last time you practiced? 5 years ago, and you live in Connecticut now? And where can you tell us where you're going to be practicing now in Connecticut and who your preceptor is? Oh, I can't say that. You did a good job saying that.
Pharmacy, I don't have.
Questions for Ahmad? Welcome. Keep track of your hours. Okay, very good. Thank you very, very much. Lama Hassan, I believe. Say that right? Lao is Lama, Lama Hassan. Okay. Wait until April for that. Oh, boy. All right, forgive me. Alawumi Jamasai. Is it Jamasi? Jamasai?
Yeah. Fine.
When you get up there, I'm gonna have to say it, so you can practice. Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but truth, so help you God? And how do you say your name?
Jimshi.
Jamasi. Okay, have a seat. So seeing what took place, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you went to school, what type of practice?
I finished from
Nigeria?
Yes, I was in Nigeria. And did internship for 1 year. I practiced for 5 years. I had experience in this hospital 1 year. Things. I speak that so will be
Okay, I can't pronounce either, so you're fine. And at a CVS?
at the medicine, yes.
And I'm curious about Nigeria. I don't remember Nigeria one before.
No, I don't.
For it. So were you in retail or hospital or both?
At different points in time.
And so when does a patient walk into a pharmacy like they do here? Do they have insurance or?
Yes,
They do.
have to have, yes, have insurance or, yeah.
Interesting. And does the pharmacist have more ability to prescribe in Nigeria? So it's treated the same thing with a
Yeah,
prescription?
yes. The pharmacy don't prescribe in Nigeria. Any prescription from. You can't decide.
Interesting. Okay, very good. Well, thank you, and make sure you keep track of your hours and turn them into the department, okay? Thank you very much. And the last one, Ahmad Kadri, yep. Say that right? So raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and the truth, so help you God. Have a seat. You know the drill. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm from Pakistan. I studied my pharmacy in Pakistan in 2012. Like after completing degree, I worked there for 2 years. I worked in a retail and industry. 2014, I went to Dubai. I worked in a retail center for like 4 years and worked in hospital for 2 years. In 2020, I moved to Norway. I worked as a retail pharmacist there from 2020 to 2022.
I'll come back and be him.
Yeah, right?
That's fantastic. So of those three, which was your favorite place? Dubai by far.
Right,
My
yeah.
cousin said the same thing.
Yeah.
And they've been to Dubai. Interesting. So you're here in Connecticut now?
Yes,
And where will you be practicing here?
C&D Pharmacy Services in Stamford,
And who's your preceptor?
Lauren Ivanko.
Excellent. So of the systems you saw overseas, since obviously we know ours, which system pharmacy care did you like the most? Pakistan, Dubai, or Norway? And why is that?
Documentation there and value of the, there's not that much there. We take care of the patients, not the money, but I would go more for
Oh,
now.
it's socialized medicine.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting. Very good. Awesome. Thank you. See, we learned something today. And you keep track of your hours. Okay. Very good. Okay. Okay, now we're gonna clear the room. First-time managers, all first-time managers that are here, please come up and line up in front here. How you guys doing today?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Like the olden days, this is great. Could be more than the list, but we'll go through it. So I'm gonna butcher your names. You don't have to stand in the light of the screen. I apologize. I'm sorry. That's why I don't like TV land. You want to get on TV in another way, not this way. I understand. So I'm gonna butcher your names and just let me know you're here as I do that, okay? Israel Ali. Thank you. And yeah, and correct me. Thank you. Correct me when I say it wrong. It's the only way I'm gonna learn. Kelly Carucci. You know I'm gonna get that one right, Kelly.
Third.
Laura Hamadi. Thank you, Laura. Arlene Wen. I see it right? I went on a computer for that one. I actually did the pronunciation on the computer, so. Arya Iqbal, Arya. Anum Khan. Is it Anum or Anum? Anum, thank you. Wasn't sure. Amanda Murata. Thank you, Amanda. Van Nguyen. Thank you. Dia Tosca. Is it Dia or Dea?
There.
Dea, thank you. Wasn't sure. And Taryn Pierce. Thank you, Taryn. Is there anyone's name I didn't call that's here? Yay, it matches. So, welcome. Thank you for coming to our beautiful capital here, Hartford, Connecticut. So one of the reasons why, we're one of the few boards that actually still does this, that calls first-time managers in. And we feel it's important, especially today, you know, we're not insulated to the environment that's out there. We know how difficult it is to be a pharmacy manager, especially in practices. Many of you, in fact, most of you look like you work for large corporations. And it's tough out there. Well, there's a great correlation between great leaders, great managers, and the efficiency and the culture of that particular store. One of the first things I did when I became the chairman of the board was flip this. First-time managers always went first, and they left, and they didn't hear any of the things that happened after the meeting. And I thought it was important for you, especially today's cases, to hear some of the pitfalls and some of the things that happen in pharmacy. And today, if you really listen to what Attorney Ando said, it was one thing that caused all those things, and that was what? Poor leadership. It was the pharmacy manager that was the key, the denominator of all the issues that took place at those stores. You know, and you heard fines today, but what do you think is going to happen to those licenses if that happens again? Their livelihood is gone, right? So I can't possibly go over all the responsibilities you have as a pharmacy manager. But I can point out some of the things that we see. So you're going to attest to me today that you're going to go on the drug control website in the state of Connecticut. They have a phenomenal pharmacy manager piece in there that is FAQs, frequently asked questions. They do a great job with that. And anything you want to know is in there. Again, using your best judgment. If it's gray, find out the answer. Okay, find out the answer if it's something that's gray, because they didn't, and those cases that they paid to fine. So I'm just going to go over some of the things that we commonly see on routine. What's the minimum number of hours a pharmacy manager has to be at their store or at their practice? 35. During COVID, that was a big issue. It's not so much of an issue today, but just be aware if you're the pharmacy manager and an owner or corporate manager says, oh, you're only going to work 30 hours a week, that doesn't cut it. Expirations. One of the things we did in our stores is just make sure your staff pharmacists, your technicians, make sure their licenses aren't expired, they're up to date. Make sure they do their CEs. We're not lenient when people don't have their CEs. Our CEs went to an annual basis. It used to be every 2 years. It's every year. So you have to get those 15 done every year. Okay. Tech ratios. So with tech ratios, what are the ratios? One, you're nationally certified. If you're certified for immunizations during the period of September through March or April, through April 1st. Right?
April 1st, March 31st.
You're allowed, you're certified. So you could actually, during those busy months, go all the way up to 4 to 1. And in the regs haven't passed yet, but there is an advanced tech that is soon coming. So during those months, a good pharmacy manager that can talk their supervisors into getting help during the busy months, you can actually go up to 5 to 1 when we have the advanced tech regs that come out. Right now, you can't do that. Your clerks have to be registered now. So make sure that your pharmacy clerks are registered and that they all wear name tags. It's very important to wear name tags. At our store, I forced my pharmacists to wear white jackets. Technicians were blue and clerks were red. I thought it was important for the consumer to know the hierarchy of the healthcare provider behind the counter. You don't have to do that, but just know that name tags and what they represent is important, especially when a drug control agent walks in. Diversion, no one wants to talk about it, but you heard cases today with diversion. If there's an issue with your inventory, how long do you have to report it? 72 hours. 72 hours because it could be a partial, give you a couple of days to figure out, geez, there's 10 missing. Oh, that was a partial that came in, figure it out. But even if it's only 1 tablet or 1 cc, whatever it is, you have to report it to drug control. And sticking with that, you heard about the inventories. The reason why the inventories are so important, especially the perpetual inventories and staying on top of your scheduled inventories, is if there is a shortage, without an inventory that's correct, you can't go backwards and piece it together and find out where it broke or why it's missing, or is someone responsible for it? Was it just a mistake? So make sure you keep up with your inventories. It's really important. And that's something that the agents look at. It's really, really important. And if you have any robotics, like we have robots in my stores or pill counting machines, make sure they're calibrated. When the robots, anybody have robots in their stores? When the robot's screaming that, hey, I miscounted, trust it, because it really did miscount. So don't ignore it. And calibrate those machines, because if you put a scheduled drug in there and it miscounts hundreds of times over and over, that's going to be an exponential number when you go, oh my God, we're missing thousands of tablets. Well, the robot may have been miscounted. So one of the things we did, it was a scheduled drug, it didn't go to robot. So, but there are ways to get it. Just make sure you keep an eye on that. The PMP program, make sure you check PMP. One of the issues that seems to come up more and more now is that the diabetes products aren't being put into the PMP. Make sure your system, your computer systems has the ability to recognize that needs to be uploaded into PMP. All the strips, the meters, the insulins, they have to be in PMP. And the reason for that is if you're closed and they go somewhere else, they can easily look it up in PMP and know exactly what they got. So it's really important to make sure your diabetic products are being uploaded in PMP. Misfills. No one wants to talk about it, but it happens. If there is a misfill, do not sweep it under the rug. Fill out a quality assurance, contact all the people involved, doctors, nurses, whoever is involved, contact patients. Do not sweep it under the rug. Be transparent about it, come up with a quality report. And if there's something, I always use the same example. I had a technician that was dyslexic. We didn't know they were dyslexic. And they were taking Xanax and Zantac because they were next to each other. I said, this is wrong. And we realized that, oh my God, it's always the same tech making the same mistake. And it turned out that they had an issue. when they were seeing things. So they never grabbed any drugs again, right? We put them into another position, but we took the Xanax and the Zantac and we moved it all the way to the letter A, kept the Xanax at letter X, so it can't get mixed up again. So they're just very simple things, and put that in your protocol of what you did on that quality report on how that misfill isn't going to happen again. One of the things we did at our store was keep track of near misses. You know, I know it's hard when you're really, really busy, but you may see a pattern develop on a near miss. It could be a specific tech. It could be a pharmacist. It could be a drug that sounds alike. It could be a strength. Like I'll tell you, well, you guys are way too young, but back in the day, Cardizem brand name, Cardizem 30 milligrams number 60, Cardizem 60 milligrams number 30. I always mix those up. I did Cardizem 30 milligrams number 60 when it was 60 milligrams number 30. It was just a thing. So I put these big X's and I said, count that, make sure the Cardizem's right. I had notes in the computer because I knew that was a pitfall for me. I always confused those two. If you find a near miss and you can fix it, do it. I can't believe I have to say this, but it's happened, so I will. If a drug control agent comes into your store, you must allow them in, must allow them into your pharmacy. Now, make sure they identify themselves. You can ask for credentials because you can't possibly know who all our drug control agents are. But once they show you those credentials, you can't say you have to leave, you got to come back another day. I have to call my boss first. You must allow them in the store and behind the counter. Closings. It hasn't been an issue lately, but we had a big issue with early closings where pharmacies being closed because they couldn't staff them or the pharmacist wasn't there. If you're going to close early, you must notify the department. You have to notify the department. Just think if there's a prescription and a will call and the patient shows up and didn't know you're closed and now they go somewhere else and that was processed, the other pharmacy is going to say, I can't fill that. You know, you got filled down the street. Well, I need it. What if it's a weekend? What if they're going away? Notify the department and make sure that the patient has access to their medication, right? And if you're going to be closed, don't leave that to someone else to report. As the pharmacy manager, you report. Your supervisor may say they're going to handle it, whatever, but we had a large issue over the past few months of pharmacies closing and not reporting it. And when the consumer reports it to us, not a good thing. See, naloxone, when you have an opportunity to dispense naloxone, try to take advantage of that. State of Connecticut does fantastic with that, according to national statistics. Record keeping. You heard in the cases before us, it is becoming more and more common. Sloppiness, right? Record keeping is really important. I know it stinks sometimes at the end of the day, you want to get the heck out of there. You know, you're tired. Make time to make sure that all your record keeping is done correctly. Your pharmacy tech manuals, that's something that I'll admit, even in our stores, sometimes, you know, you put it on a calendar. You all have digital calendars now. You can just say, hey, I got to go through our pharmacy training manual. I got to make sure this is up to date. I have to make sure our inventory is done. Very easy to get a pop-up today. We put it on a paper calendar when I was practicing, but I know everything's digital today. It's very, very simple to get a reminder to take care of that. Opioid stickers, you know, since January, we have to put opioid stickers. The CPA would love to sell you some. So if you need any, you can buy them from the Connecticut Pharmacists Association. And with that, I'm going to have Commissioner Nguante speak to you a little bit about the MedWatch program. Commissioner.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, congratulations to all of you on your leadership position. This is great. I'm so excited for you. And so you can tell the whole spirit of this is we want you to succeed and you know, practice at the top of your license and be the best you can be. So another thing we like to mention is the FDA MedWatch program. And you just sign up for it, you get the push emails, and it tells you about anything, any reports from the field, you know, recalls. It looks like most of you are working for large chains, so I'm sure there's processes on how they keep you current with that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's your responsibility, it's your license. So we like to make sure you know about this. And like I say, you sign up for the emails, the information comes to you. You don't have to go, you know, searching for it. And most people find it to be pretty helpful. So just want to make that something else you add to your toolkit. And again, wish you great success in your new role.
I don't know if you noticed with your license renewals, thank you, Commissioner Guante. With your license renewal, there's a small little charge that goes to Haven Health Program. I want to talk a little bit about that. It's specific for pharmacists and interns. It's completely anonymous, stress, mental, for your mental well-being, substance abuse. It's completely anonymous. There's an impaired pharmacist or someone that you know, completely anonymous. It's there to help pharmacists and interns. Fantastic program. They present it to us, and it's it's good to know that there's a program there specifically for pharmacists and interns. So just be aware of that if those services are ever needed. The other thing I'd like to say is that I joined every association there was, and invaluable the things I learned from those associations. Join the Connecticut Pharmacists Association, join APHA, join the NCPA, or if you have a specialty, if it's pediatrics or pulmonary, whatever your specialty may be, there's an association for that for pharmacists, hospitals, whatever it may be. Join that association. It's amazing the information, and not only for CEs, but just legislatively what's happening to your practice to stay on top of it. So I urge you to join your associations. And I'll leave you with do no harm, use good judgment when you can, just do no harm. And remember that sometimes company policy isn't state policy, and state policy will always win out. And we're here to help you. Any questions by any commissioners? Any comments or questions? So, you saw some punitive things, and I want to kudos to Commissioner Taylor bringing this up, but sometimes things look punitive at the commission. It's not, or that drug control is punitive to pharmacy. It isn't. It's there to help you. It's there to, of course, to uphold the regulations, but when drug control agents come in, they want to make sure that it's running right, and they're there to help you and help you resolve any issues that you may have. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to drug control, reach out to the department, reach out to any of us. Like I said, if it's gray or you're not sure, ask or look it up, and we're here to help you. We're here to make sure you practice pharmacy at the highest efficiency that can be done. Okay? Now you can all go back to work. Thank you. Any questions for us?
Actually have one.
Yes.
Regarding the case earlier about like vaccinations and text offering, there's a really large push in a lot of our larger corporations for text, offering vaccines at registers. At what point does that cross the line of you're offering counseling, between a technician and a pharmacist and an intern?
Offering the act is in counseling. If they ask about side effects or fever, or what medication should I take if I have a reaction, that's counseling.
Okay, because we get a lot of well, what's the age range? Is that the line? Because we have a sheet that we printed and.
That's okay, right? We have a lot of representation here from drug control. It's okay for a technician to tell the patient what ages the immunization process takes place. Okay. That's cool, right? Yeah.
I just want to make sure, because I think that can get a little dicey sometimes. I know a lot of patients like to ask questions.
That's why you gotta eavesdrop. You gotta do a lot of eavesdropping when you're a pharmacist.
No, ears are always open. I just wanted to make sure too, after hearing that too.
And you can easily tell them, this is what you can say and this is what you can't say. Just make it very, very clear to them. Any other questions? Great question.
Like when patients, they ask, how do I take this drug? And the technician just reads exactly what's written on the monograph. Oh, it said here that you this. Would that be?
Well, you guys are really in the weeds here today. Pretty good. So I think the technician can read the label because that's what the patient does. But if there's a question there, is this really how I have to take it? Or is it 12 hours? Is it 8 hours? What does twice a day mean? Is it morning and night, or is it every 12? Do I have to get up in the middle of the night if it's 8 hours and I took a nap? That's a question for the pharmacist, but reading the label, I think that's fine.
Anything involving judgment.
So, any other questions? Good. I'm back to work. Thank you very much. That was a good class. I just graduated a good class. All right, you're welcome, Mr. Fedko. Commissioner Linder with reciprocity interview candidates.
So busy.
Oh, quite a list.
The rest
What do you have for us?
Yeah, so there's 18 applications from January and February. Sabrina was very busy. Thank you for compiling all these applications for us. All applications look to be in order. So with that, I will make a motion to approve all applications as presented.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, so moved. Oh, my. Now we come to favorite part of the meeting, Commissioner Iguante. We'll take these in sections as we always have. So
Yeah,
we'll start with the request for new
New.
non-resident pharmacy applications that were approved.
right. Well, actually, this is, on your agenda. This has both the approval and the denials, the,
Okay.
separate report that you received, from, Gina
Oh, here we go.
delineates, and actually, I do have a couple of edits to that. What we're trying to do, Gina will reach out to, some of these applicants that just are missing a few elements of data rather than have them wait. And so, there's a couple on the report I'd like to, just change, from denied to approved. The first one is the Clear MedX, from Worthington, Ohio. They do have their their all three numbers, so, we're gonna recommend approval on that. And then you'll also see there are two of the Harkness Health pharmacies. One, submitted everything needed and received them. The other one, number 330, they had indicated that they were doing batch, compounding and, batch dispensing. Gina did clarify with that they are not doing batch, so we can also approve that. So those are the two changes. You have all the details in the report. We're working on some modifications to the online application. This time, there was more denials than approvals, and I think it was because once these other modifications to the applications occur, I think this is gonna be self-correcting. So I don't know if anyone had any questions on the new applications, but I'm happy to take them at this time. You will see there were several that had numerous violations in other states. Some we need either their corrective action plans, or we need to understand if all those violations are resolved before we can go forward and approve them. But those are the new applications.
Quite a bit of denials. So the online application is getting tweaked. Do you think that some of these denials will be
I think so.
self-fixed?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a comprehension, in terms of how people are looking at the online application. So again, we have a meeting to kind of do some problem solving, and it's all good. It's just part of the process, making it better. So I'm very happy about that.
You heard the report before you. Do I have a motion to accept Commissioner Guante's report, non-resident pharmacies?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Very good. Now we'll move on to the non-resident applications that have been approved since our prior meetings with additional information.
Right, all of these applications you guys have seen before, and for various reasons, we had to deny them at those points in times. You have the detailed report that I submitted before you, and you'll see there's still a couple of denials, but for the most part, all but three of them we will recommend to approve. They have provided the additional documentation and the information that we needed.
Any questions for Commissioner Guante? Hearing none, I'll accept the motion to approve her report.
So moved.
Do I hear a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved.
And then
Now, the last but not least, non-resident request for sterile compounding, Quorum CVS Specialty Infusion. Commissioner Guanxi.
thank you, Chairman. Yeah, so we have one out-of-state licensed pharmacist, the pharmacy, and they would like to add infusion services and be able to provide those to the residents of Connecticut. They provided a NABP VPP 797 inspection. They had that inspection on January 15th. Everything was complete and in order. And I would recommend that we approve that addition to that license.
Do I hear a motion to accept?
moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Commissioner Guante, the floor is yours again. How about an update on the MPJE?
So I think most of you know the MPJE process is a twice a year process. And so what Commissioner Linder and Agent Rachel Brown and I just completed is the item writing question. We write new questions for our data bank, for our question bank. And we just completed that at the beginning of March, I think mid-March. Yeah.
March.
Yeah, and so very structured process. Every year we go through additional education on the question writing process itself, using their online tool for the uploading the questions. And they dictate to us the competencies that we're deficient in, because there has to be sufficient number of questions when licensees go in to take the exam. So we just completed that and submitted, and now what happens between now and September, August, all these questions that we wrote, we have to provide all the law references. There's a huge scope of work that is behind this. And the reviewers at the NABP will go through and make sure these are good questions. They have, PhD, psychometric trained people that just do question analysis. Are they good? Are they fair? Are they accurate? And they back check all of the documentation. And so over the next few months, we will learn if these questions are going to be admitted into the data bank. And then we'll start our September assignment, which is reviewing all the questions in the data bank. So for Connecticut.
I think so. That's a good
Yeah,
idea.
I don't worry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Linder. Thank you, Agent Brown. Thank you. Thanks for the update. Okay. Now move on to the approval of commission meeting January, 2 months ago. Hopefully everyone had a chance to look at the meeting minutes. Any corrections, omissions, anything? Hearing none, I'll accept the motion to accept the minutes for January.
So moved.
I will second it. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Very good. I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Commissioner Carberry, thank you for joining us in TV land today.
I'll see you
Thank
next
you.
month. See you next
Yes,
month
sir.
in person.
Take care. Appreciate it very
Take
much.
care.
Thank you, everyone. Students still here. You have any questions or anything? Couple of times, but see anything?
Yeah, I do it.